Hey guys, The Great Awakening, Chapter 5. So, what is the Great Awakening? It has to deal with religion awakening back up in the colonies. So, we first have religious persecuted groups coming over in the 1620s: the Pilgrims, the Puritans, the Quakers, the Catholics. But by the 1730s, most people in America had kind of forgotten about religion because they were more focused on commercial gains and social identity. So by the 1730s, we have evangelism, public preaching coming out. So people preaching out in the country, out in tents, all over the place, all over the current United States. So this happens in 1730s, 1740s. What's different from the type of preaching that we saw in the churches of the Puritans and some of these other groups was that it was usually based on theological sermons, like very advanced, very technical, done by scholars of the Bible. And with evangelism and the Great Awakening, the preachers were using emotion. They were talking about love for God and love for humanity and kind of invoking as many emotions as they possibly could. So people were more drawn to this type of preaching than they were of this advanced lectures, essentially. What's also unique about the Great Awakening is it challenged authorities. They were going after these preachers saying, why do you have to tell me what my relationship should be with God? Why can't I make my own decisions? Why do I need you to interpret the Bible? Why can't I? So this is a challenging the authorities. And this is going to be the precursor to the American Revolution, where they're going to start challenging the British. Why do I have to follow your navigation acts? Why do I have to pay your taxes? Why do I have to listen to what Parliament's telling me 3,000 miles away? The other effect of the Great Awakening was it divided religions. We have an explosion of new churches being developed all throughout. We have Baptists being developed, Methodists. All these churches are dividing based on this idea of old lights, so this old school way of looking at religion, and now the new lights, who are, again, emotional, challenge authority, make questions. All you need is the Bible, you need nothing else. Um, with these new churches came new colleges as well that are going to be based on religious doctrine. So Harvard was first developed for the Puritans. Later, we're going to have College of New Jersey for the Presbyterians. We are going to have King's College in New York, which is currently Columbia, and then Queens College also is going to develop Rutgers. So we have these new colleges that are even more secular than religious based. We have Jonathan Edwards. He is one of the more famous preachers of this time period. He is from Massachusetts. He is a Congregationalist, which is a fancy word for a Puritan. He's most famous for his lecture called The Sinners in the Hand of an Angry God. He was really upset about church turnout and attendance, that people weren't coming anymore, and now God is angry and he's going to punish them all. So again, showing emotion instead of using technical terms from the Bible that nobody understood. So here's an excerpt from it. The God that holds you over the pit of hell, much as one holds a spider or some loathsome insect over the fire, abhors you and is dreadfully provoked. His wrath towards you burns like fire. He looks upon you as worthy of nothing else but to be cast into the fire. So we're all going to hell if you don't start, embracing God once again. O sinner, consider the fearful danger you are in. It is a great furnace of wrath, a wide and bottomless pit, full of fire and wrath, that you are held over in the hand of that God whose wrath is provoked and incensed as much against you as against many of the damned in hell. You hang by a slender thread with the flames of divine wrath flashing about it, and ready every moment to singe it and burn it asunder. So this is radically different from the preaching you would hear in a Puritan church before the Great Awakening. This is emotion. He's attacking you. He's putting fear into your heart that if you don't change your ways, start embracing God once again, coming to church, you're all going to hell and God is angry and he's going to burn you in a pit of fire. Intense stuff. Pretty intense stuff. But the most famous guy is this one. It's not George Whitefield, it's George Whitefield. He visited the colonies. I believe he was from Scotland. He went into these churches, like a congregational church up in Massachusetts, and the clergy dismissed him. They kicked him out. They didn't want him preaching anymore because he's like, why do we need to listen to these preachers anymore? Why don't you just read the Bible and you should be good? So he's like, you know what? I don't even need the churches. I'm going to bring it to the people. And he would go out and there would be tens of thousands of people come to listen to him speak. And he had this powerful theater going on. And it was extremely passionate. And this is not actually misprint, he was cross-eyed, and they said when he was spirited, his eyes would kind of wave all over the place. Um, so he's like, I don't need a church. We don't need the clergy. Find God within. And he becomes one of the leading members of the New Lights, emotion, having fun with religion, okay, challenging authority. And this is an excerpt from Ben Franklin. Now, Ben Franklin is a famous deist, which means he believed that a God probably existed, but he doesn't play a role in our daily life. So he wasn't a very religious person, but he went and he had to go listen to George Whitefield. So this is his experience with George Whitefield. I happened soon after to attend one of his sermons, in the course of which I perceived he intended to finish with a collection, and I silently resolved he should get nothing from me. I had in my pocket a handful of copper money, 3 or 4 silver dollars, and 5 pistols, which are Spanish coins, in gold. And he proceeded, and I began to soften and conclude to give the coppers. Another stroke of his oratory made me ashamed of that and determined to give me the silver. And he finished so admirably that I emptied my pocket wholly into the collector's dish, gold and all. This is Ben Franklin, one of the smartest men in America at that time. Brilliant dude. And he was so enthralled by what George Whitefield was doing that he decided to give his money away to the causes that George Whitefield was doing. And George Whitefield was using this money to set up churches and also to help the slaves become free. So he wasn't just stealing money. So this is Ben Franklin being, turned on by what George Whitefield was talking about, and shows how powerful he was. And Great Awakening is going to be a small little footnote in why the colonists started looking at authority in a different manner. And that is it, folks. Hope you enjoyed. Have a great day. Bye-bye. See if I can turn this off now. Where are you? Ray.